held on Monday, May 18, 2015 at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers will come to order. We will ask the Reverend Derek Shaw, pastor of the First Church of God, to give our invocation. Will you rise, please?
Will you join me? Heavenly Father, as we gather together to pray, may tonight's meeting begin with reverence toward you and a desire to clear our hearts and minds of everything that would hinder the health and growth of this city of Poplar Bluff. Tonight my heart is grateful for all of these leaders and representatives who sacrificially give of their time and effort to make our city great. In addition, I lift up their families and ask that you bless them. I pray for their spouses, sons and daughters, grandchildren, and extended family. Give them patience and peace as they share their loved ones with us. As well, may these families receive health and blessing as you watch and guide each of them. Finally, Lord, as our leaders, help them resist the temptation to give into ego, selfish ambition, or injustice. But rather may their desire be to lead with a servant's heart. Thus help them to maintain an attitude of teamwork, forgiveness, grace, and love in all that they say and do. Please provide this governing body your wisdom and discernment before making any decisions, and may you be pleased with all of us. In your name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Shaw. I'm proud to say that Pastor Shaw is my pastor. He is new to our community, he and his family, and came to us in December from Marion, Illinois, and I hope all of you will get the opportunity to meet him in the future. He's very interested in our community and our city and what is happening. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Pearson. Councilman DeGaris.
Here.
Councilman Crocker.
Here.
Councilman Tinsley.
Here.
Councilman Russian.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Here.
And Mayor Abshir.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Disclosure of interest. Any member of the City Council may disclose any possible conflict of interest dealing with either any item on the printed agenda or with any matter discussed at a previous meeting. Seeing none, we will move to citizens' input. Each person in the audience may take this opportunity to address the City Council on any matter which is not on the printed agenda. Please give us your name and address, please.
Okay, I'm 1736 Whispering Oaks Place. What I'm really here to talk about tonight is there's been lots of articles and speak out, which I'm not too fond of. But anyway, concerning using the Kenyon School for a city hall. Well, I grew up around remodeling and building homes. And I can guarantee you, when you start remodeling something, you're going to, it's like restoring an old house. You're going to spend more on that old house and an old building than you would if you built brand new. First of all, the wiring that we have to have in this day and age with all the electronics that we have to have would have to be totally put in. I worked at a place where there were wires hanging from the ceiling, running across the floor. You almost killed yourself getting up. I finally took packing tape and taped them to the desk to keep from falling down. It'd have to have heating, probably a roof. It probably needs to be tuck pointed because it's so old. It would not meet any handicap standards that are demanded by the federal government to this day. It would have to have an elevator, have to have ramps, and the support, I'm sure, would not be there that would require the weight of all the things that we would have to have. The electronics is almost mind-boggling. It would go on and on and on, and we'd be throwing money down a pit. And what would you have when you got done? A half-assed building. Instead of done in the right in the first place. And everybody says, oh, you can park in the back. That place is surrounded by apartments. Guess who's gonna use that parking? Because there's definitely not enough room on the street for all people to park. That's really all I have to say about that. And I figured it needed to be put in now while it's still in early ages. I hate, we've already probably wasted a ton of money on things that we shouldn't have done, and things that positively needed to be done to put us into the 21st century, because that is something we need desperately, to be in the 21st century. Nothing is going to come to Poplar Bluff unless they can see that we're trying to do something for Poplar Bluff. I've lived here 50 years this year. I've seen a lot of changes. As I said earlier, I remember there used to be about every 3 blocks a little grocery store. There aren't there anymore. Times do change, and we change with it. I'm glad to see when I used to go to a lot of baseball games in St. Louis, I always took a cooler. Because the things I wanted to buy in a grocery store, I couldn't buy in Poplar Bluff. And the first place I headed after the baseball game was to Schnucks to buy the things I could not buy in Poplar Bluff and get them home safely. I'm now beginning to do that. I buy very little out of town, except clothes and shoes, because I wear a very weird shoe size, and nobody in this town has ever carried a 7 narrow or a 7.5 slim. So, but at least we're getting someplace to shop. I'm so glad Marshall's came. I can hardly stand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Imes. Moving to the consent agenda, the items on the consent. Oh, excuse me, Ruth, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm Ruth Scoggins at 1410 Rosedale. Madam Mayor and council members, on behalf of myself, and I'm sure on behalf of many citizens of Poplar Bluff, I want to say thank you. After many months of struggle with many difficult decisions, you have shown that you can make firm decisions for the city of Poplar Bluff. I appreciate your standing firm and hearing the wishes of many of our citizens. Poplar Bluff is a great city in which to live. I believe we have been given another chance, and under your leadership, we will move forward. Again, may I say thank you for a job well done. With the prayers and support of our community, I look forward to progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Anyone else? Okay, if not, we will move to our consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are approved by a single action of the City Council. Any council member would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and considered separately, he may or she may so request.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. You had the minutes in our packets. Approval of minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for approval of the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Kirby, we're ready for the city clerk's report.
Each councilperson received a copy of the consolidated statement of funds on deposits in various banks as of April 30th, 2015. Those amounts are in the Commerce Bank, $2,849,758.58. In People's Community State Bank, $562,923.25. In First Midwest Bank, $12,077,261.02. In First Community Bank, $241,053.36. In Sterling Bank, $6,614,819.38. And in Southern Missouri Bank, $334,012.88. This gives us a grand total of all funds in all banks of $22,470,322.65. Of that amount, total funds on deposit for the account of City Hall is $13,380,012.33. Total funds on deposit for the account of the Coliseum is $241,053.36. Total funds on deposit for the account of the Park Department is $1,265,215.83. And total funds on deposit for the account of municipal utilities is $7,584,041.13. Each councilperson also received a copy of the following reports from city departments: a list of bills paid, a report from downtown PB, a report from the fire department, a report from the municipal court, a payroll report by departments, a report from the planning department, a report from the police department, animal control and code enforcement, a report from the street department, and the police and fire pension report. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Entertain a motion for the approval of the clerk's report.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for the approval of city clerk's report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving to the workshop items. Item A, the city council will discuss options for the house on Poplar Street.
Madam Mayor, this is a house that was donated to the city by a Wells Fargo Bank several months ago. Mr. Kaplan and the street department were looking into remodeling the house to make it livable and then try to resell it. Right now, the street department's just covered up with concrete projects and asphalt and grass mowing, and I would just recommend that we take sealed bids on this house and try to sell it as is. Since it was donated, about the only amount of money we'd have in it is the appraisal, which was, I think, cost us $300, and whatever advertising for the bids would cost us. But, of course, I will do whatever y'all direct me to do.
What would be a minimum bid that you would have, you think?
I'm not sure. That appraisal said they appraised it at, I think, $30,000. That seemed a little bit high since the wire's been stripped and the plumbing and no heating and cooling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a two-story house, but I know one person said they would give us $11,000 at one time.
I just think we need to come up with a minimum.
Yeah, I do too.
You know,
I
so-
agree, because we don't want to sell it for,
Yeah, you don't want to have it where it goes for $15 or. You know.
right.
I think that's fine. If we could find a minimum bid we're comfortable with, that saves us a lot of manpower and time we really don't have. I think it's fine to do that. If we come up
Okay.
with a minimum bid amount.
Need a motion on that? I make a motion that we come up with a decent bid on a house on Poplar Street and put it up for sale.
Second.
Put a minimum on it?
Motion has been made and seconded to place the Poplar Street house for sale. Any other comments or questions?
Are you gonna bring it back to us on minimum?
That's what I was going to suggest, that I just come back to you all
Yeah.
with a minimum
That's
price on
fine,
it.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I guess that should be moved to the voting
We'll discuss it again at he'll bring it back.
Okay.
With the
Next
minimum.
meeting.
All right, okay, thank you. Item B, the city council will discuss amending the employee manual for the city of Poplar Bluff employees.
You all were given a draft copy of a new employee manual that was drafted by Jackson Lewis Law Firm, and there was a lot of work that went into that between the city clerk, myself, and Mr. Kaplan, and the law firm, and various other departments. And unless you all have any questions or recommendations, I would just recommend that it be passed to the voting session at the next council meeting.
Make the motion, we pass it to the voting session. Is that June 1st?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass item B to the voting session to be held June 1st. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item C, the city council will review applications received for board appointments.
This is our normal time of the year to do board appointments. I guess it'll be voted on at the next meeting. I know some of them are mayor appointments with with approval of the council.
There's some that are city manager.
And city,
appointments.
yes, there's
Yeah, there's
a few that
4
are
of
city
those,
manager.
and then there's some that are council appointments. So the mayor usually gets with the council over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll have a list ready to go at the next council meeting.
Madam Mayor, there's one thing that was brought up, said the person had trouble or didn't see when the deadline was. Said they could find the application online on our website, but it didn't have a deadline date on that. Thought that might be a good place that we put that, make sure it's on there just
And I
right before the
felt we had it
application.
on there. We had it on the city's website, and then we ran the ad 3 times
Yeah.
like we normally do, but we'll check that and make sure we include it.
Just give them an extra place to look. And do we send letters out for the applicants that did put in and weren't selected? I mean, I know we get a lot of applications sometimes and aren't able to put everybody on the board, but we appreciate their,
Yeah, we
You
send
know.
letters out to everyone that applies.
okay, thank you.
What's the will of the council?
Just need to workshop and vote at the next meeting.
Voted at the next meeting.
Mhm.
You'll get
Voting
another
session.
list, so.
Make the motion, we move it to the next council meeting, June 1st.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to move to the voting session to be held June 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item D, the city council will review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a letter of engagement between the city of Poplar Bluff and Brian Cave.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Kaplan, I've been working with Brian Cave Law Firm to do with the TIF bonds and the Industrial Development Authority that was created at the last meeting. He's pretty much an expert in this information, and we really need to pass this so we can do the Industrial Development Authority and get the bonds issued.
As I understand it, his main function was to set up the IDA.
Yes, sir.
Once that's set up, we will no longer need their services
Yes, sir.
unless we see a need in the future.
Yes, sir.
So,
That's my
yeah.
understanding,
Mhm.
too.
So that I agree with you. I think we let him complete the IDA.
Any other comments, any questions? I would entertain a motion to move to the voting session to be held June 1.
I'll make a motion to move this to the voting session on June 1.
Second.
Motion. Pardon?
I'm sorry, it's tonight.
Is it tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, is it tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, it said
Is it
June
tonight?
1.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, that's tonight.
And I'll change that motion to tonight.
I don't see it.
I don't see it on there.
Didn't see it on there.
Well, it's supposed to have been on here. Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry.
What? Is it June 1
It is June 1, I guess.
Okay.
If it's not on here, it's supposed to be.
or? Okay.
We'll move to June 1.
June 1. Leave it like it is, Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That's all
Does,
right.
uh,
All in favor?
Well,
Pardon?
Mark, does that interfere at all with what we got going on? Because I know,
It kind of does, because the Industrial Development Authority needs to meet pretty quick.
That's why I was thinking we had it on here as a
Uh,
voting.
well, if it's not listed as a voting item, we'll have to do a special meeting and do it.
Can we move it to the voting session tonight then?
We don't have an ordinance prepared.
Okay.
We can do it on the 27th.
All right. Move to 27th then.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item E, the city council will review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a lease agreement between the city and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the use of property located at the intersection of Highway 6067 and Route W.
This is the area where the large sign is that has "Welcome to Poplar Bluff." We do this every few years. We maintain the property and provide insurance, and we just need to renew this.
Need to vote on it tonight?
Yes, it's actually on tonight's voting session. I apologize for that, but it was
Make a
something that...
motion, we move it to the voting session tonight?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to move item E to the voting session tonight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.